Welcome, my friends, to part 3 of Wrestling with Job. If you're just now joining me, make sure you go back and watch part 1 and part 2. Part 1, in brief, were the beginning of Job, really the first chapter and a half or so, first 2 chapters, where here's Job, who is this righteous, upright man, everything going for him. The devil and some sons of God. Found in another translation, they called them the council. They're walking the earth. They come to God, and God himself says, hey, and you're walking the earth. Did you see Job? What a great guy he is. And the devil kind of taunts God and says, yeah, he's only a good guy because you give him everything. And so God says, sure, attack him. You'll see what his faith is. And so the devil kills a bunch of his family and kills a bunch of his animals, and Job still keeps his faith. Time goes by. He comes back. They have the same conversation. The first time, God wouldn't allow him to hurt Job's person. Second time, he lets him hurt his person. And now Job's suffering. Now Job gets to the point he wishes he had never been born. He wishes he was dead. And then, at that point, the narrative kind of stops of the story, and now it's Job with his friends discussing what had happened. And in part 2, a lot of that was basically Job's friends saying to him, hey, have you stopped to think that maybe you weren't such a great guy and you deserve what you're getting? Well, when you've had your family killed and your animals destroyed, it's kind of hard to stomach that you deserve that. It's kind of where we leave Job. Now, that leads us to chapter 9. Now, what's interesting about this, I think chapter 9, so far to me, might be the most interesting thing that we've read, because Job is one of the oldest books in the Bible. Arguably, it was written before even, Genesis was written. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but it was old. And the foreshadowing of what's to come, especially in our faith as Christians, and what's in the New Testament, is pretty amazing. Because the heading of this chapter, now it probably wasn't in the original script, but in the New King James, under Job 9, it says, "For there is no mediator." And this is basically Job talking. And basically what he starts to say is, I can't understand this. How am I supposed to understand what God wants out of me? I've done the best I can. How then can I answer him and choose my words to reason with him? He's like, what am I supposed to do? I thought I was doing everything right. You guys are telling me how horrible I am. How am I so horrible? How do I understand what God wants? I'll read that again. How then can I answer him and choose my words to reason with him? I am blameless, yet I do not know myself. Think about that. Hey, I thought I was doing everything right. God gave me everything. And then for no reason that I can tell, I lose it all. And here's the tough thing about Job. God doesn't really give a reason for doing it. He basically did it for no reason, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, if you're honest about it. And Job kind of knows that. Man, I am blameless, yet I do not know myself. I despise my life. It is all one thing. Therefore I say, he destroys the blameless and the wicked. If the scourge slays suddenly, he laughs at the plight of the innocent. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covers the faces of its judges. If it is not he, who else could it be? It's almost like he's wondering, is God mocking me? Is God mocking the good? It's supposed to be the evil that allows this to happen, not God. Job is getting desperate. He's trying to make sense of this all. He's trying to keep his humility. He's trying to keep his faith, but he struggles. And then a little bit later in that chapter, we get to the verse, which is very interesting when you think about what our faith is about. Nor is there any mediator between us who may lay his hand on us both. Well, who is that mediator? It's Christ. You don't have Christ then, though. And he's wondering, if I can't understand this, if I can't communicate with God, if God can't communicate with me while he's doing this, is there a mediator? And he's desperate. That's just chapter 9. Now, in chapter 10, after he's begged to understand and he's begged for there to be a mediator, and he hearing his friends saying how bad he is, and he's going, but am I that bad? And if I am that bad, everybody's that bad, and the innocent is that bad. And why would God do this to us? Why would he create us and do this to us? Now he starts to plead with God. He's on his knees, he's looking up. I will say to God, do not condemn me. Show me why you contend with me. He's begging God, just tell me what to do. How often have you done that in your own life? Just tell me what to do. I know I have. I can't tell you the number of hard days I've had in my life. And I'm just like, tell me what to do and I'll do it. I don't want to be unhappy. I don't want my family to be unhappy. I don't want to be struggling. Just tell me what to do and I will do it. Complete humility, complete giving over. Yet, we don't always hear an answer when we do that. Your hands have made me and fashioned me in intricate unity, yet you would destroy me. See, that's how he's feeling. You made me. I didn't ask to be made. I didn't ask to be created. You made me, and look what's happening to me. I thought we're supposed to be one. Man, I tell you what, when you really dig into Job and you get away from all these scholars that tell you what it means, man, there's some human elements in this. Man, so much of this, I hope you've noticed, is like coming out of our own mouths, coming out of our own despair. Okay, you made me for this. This is what I've got. I mean, it's so real. It's so human. Why then have you brought me out of thy womb? Oh, that I had perished and no eye had seen me. He's looking at God and he's basically saying, okay, you're the one that set the rules of the game. You're the one that made me. I tried to do everything right. In fact, I thought I was doing everything right. Look at everything I accumulated. Look at my family. Look at what people thought about me. And then, for no reason that I can tell, it's gone. Disaster strikes. Now, as happened earlier, his friends hear that, and they're like, what are you doing? How dare you question God? His friend Zophar in chapter 11. And should a man full of talk be vindicated? Like, quit talking, Job. Should your empty talk make men hold their peace? And when you mock, should no one rebuke you? For you have said, my doctrine is pure, and I am clean in your eyes. But oh, that God would speak and open his lips against you, that he would show you the secrets of wisdom. For they would double your prudence. Know therefore that God exacts from you less than your iniquity desires. So basically his friend says to Job, you think you're the first one that's had that thought? You think you're the first one that's had bad things happen to him and wonder where's God in this? And you think you're somehow qualified to understand why God does things? You should be thankful it's not worse. You should be thankful. That's what his friend's telling him. You should be thankful that it's not worse. And then Job in chapter 12 has an answer to that line of inquiry from his friend, or accusations from his friend. I am not inferior to you. Indeed, who does not know such thing as thee? So he's basically saying, dude, I've been there. I get it. Trust me. Bad things happen to good people. God has a plan for everything. But what is the plan of this? What is the plan of this? I mean, if you think about how, in a sense, Job was set apart for suffering, that is the only reason we still talk about Job. Because it was that problem with pain right in your face. Here is this man, and him and his family are blessed and set aside by God. And then God, because of a conversation with the devil, just takes it all away. Why? Because God can. Because God can take away the covering and say, devil, go get him. Now, so far, that seems to be the only reason. There's really no reason that God gave. And so he's looking at his friends and he's going, okay, you haven't had your family killed. You haven't had everything taken away. You weren't this honorable person. You think you're better than me? What's happening to you? And more than likely, I am one mocked by my friends. He's looking at his friends going, well, who are you mocking me? What you know, I also know. I am not inferior to you, but I would speak to the Almighty, and I desire to reason with God. One of the things he's saying to his friends is, why are you guys lecturing me? Why are you guys getting on me? I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to be given reasons. I think that can be one of the hardest things about prayer in our own life, is just we sit and we listen and we don't hear. And it's really easy for somebody else to say, well, maybe God not answering you is an answer. But when you're desperate for an answer, when you're desperate for direction, when you're at that point in your life where you're just going, tell me what to do and I will do it. Those words can ring hollow coming from people that at that moment aren't maybe suffering like you are. How many are my iniquities and sins? Make me know my transgression and my sin. Why do you hide your face and regard me as your enemy? So Job eventually gets so broken down, so despondent, okay, that he's like, okay, maybe I am as bad as my friends say I am. You know, I probably am as bad as you think I am, but just tell me. Just tell me what I need to do. What do I need to fix? But man dies and is laid away. Indeed, he breathes his last. And where is he? As water disappears from the sea and a river becomes parched and dries up, so man lies down and does not rise. Till the heavens are no more, they will not awake, not be roused from their sleep. Now, I pointed that out because what's even more interesting about Job's despair, you can tell by that answer, okay? A man dies and is laid away, not to be rescued from their sleep. He didn't have hope in an afterlife. You know, as a Christian, what you'll hear people say sometimes, well, my hope isn't in this life, it's in the afterlife. And so if things are going bad and you don't understand why, you kind of rationalize it by going, but everything's going to be good when I die and I go to heaven. Job didn't have that. Talk about despair. He had no hope. There was no belief at this time, you know, in heaven like we think of it. And Christ died for us. Christ was thousands of years away. Talk about hopeless. I follow you to do the right things and be blessed and covered in this life. And now that ain't working, so what's left for me? Am I just going to die and then that is it? Complete, total, hopeless. And then again, what's amazing is like Job gets just broken down more and more. He gets more desperate. He gets more pleading. He gets more and more, maybe I am this horrible person. And as friends just lay it on. In chapter 15, you know, the heading is Eliphaz accuses Job of folly. Are you the first man who was born? Or were you made before the hills? You know, he's looking at Job going, seriously? You think you're the first one that's had this? Why are you acting so special? Are you Adam? Who do you think you are? What is man that he could be pure, and he who was born of a woman that he could be righteous? If God puts no trust in his saints, and the heavens are not pure in his sight, how much less man who is abominable and filthy, who drinks iniquity like water? I mean, his friends are laying it on thick. Who do you think you are? And every moment you open your mouth and talk about your humility or talk about what you're trying to do, you're just digging a deeper hole, which obviously probably leaves Job going, well, then what do I do? If repenting, if telling God, show me what to do, is seen as being bad, what am I going to do? Now, it might not seem that way. And I think this is going to, by the time we get to the end of this, I'm going to be able to show you why, to me, Job is so important and what I've learned from it. That is despair. That is where human beings go. That is where we go when we don't have faith. That is where we go when we feel like our life doesn't have purpose. I don't really believe in an afterlife. All I really believe in is what's right in front of me. That is where despair goes. That rings true to me. That rings true. Somebody would feel that way. That is the level of despair somebody would have. It's not this happy, clappy, everything's going to be great kind of thing. It is like looking at life and what it brings us and the consequences of that potentially if we don't have hope. And bad things happen to good people. Bad things happen to innocent people. And we can't begin to understand why. And then Job, again, trying to get his friends to see that they are the crazy ones. I have heard many such things. Miserable comforters are you all. That's what he calls them. Miserable comforters. Some kind of friends you are. Shall words of wind have an end, or what provokes you that you answer? God has delivered me to the ungodly and turned me over to the hands of the wicked, which in fact he has done. I was at ease, but he has shattered me. He has also taken me from by my neck and shaken me to pieces. He has set me up for his target. Now, what he is saying to his friends is what I think is inescapable. God did this to Job. Job didn't do it to himself. Job was doing what he was supposed to. God, literally, as he said, has delivered me to the ungodly and turned me over to the hands of the wicked. Devil, go get him. That's what happened. O earth, do not cover my blood, and let my cry have no resting place. Surely even now my witness is in heaven, and my evidence is on high. My friends scorn me. My eyes pour out tears to God. Oh, that one might plead for a man with God. Now, I think what's interesting here is that even within his despair, even within his anger, his unknowingness, he still has faith. Faith doesn't have to be neat and tidy. And, oh, Jesus, I love you. Faith can be, I'm willing to struggle. Think about Jacob wrestling with God, that whole image. Faith, I don't think is supposed to be this happy, clappy, everything is neat and you get it all thing. It's supposed to be wrestling. You're supposed to be in the arena, okay? The arena of life. And if you are, it's going to get ugly, and that's real. And that's what's real about Job. He's wrestling with God. Show me the way. Where then is my hope? As for my hope, who can see it? Will they go down to the gates of Sheol? Shall we have rest together in the dust? Well, maybe the only hope he finds is in the dust. Maybe the only hope he thinks he's going to find is if he has dead. And then again, here are these friends. These friends to me they're like crows picking at his skin. It's unbelievable. It's probably why later on God gets onto him. But then his friend Bildad says to him, how long till you put an end to words? He's like, shut up. Gain understanding, and afterward we will speak. Okay, so understand the ununderstandable. Understand why this is happening to you. And you know that right about now, Job is going, what are you talking about? Have you not listened to me? That's all I'm trying to do is understand this. And you're telling me to shut up and understand it. Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him who does not know God. Hey, Job, actually, there is cause and effect. And the cause and effect here is you're so wicked and you're so bad that you don't know God. And this is why this is all happening to you. Now, what's interesting about Job 19 is not in the text to me. It was, we want so badly to see purpose in this that sometimes we label things in a way that I'm not really sure is accurate. So in Job 19, the title in the New King James is Job Trusts in His Redeemer. Yet when I read it, I'm not really sure that's what Job's doing. Maybe it is, but here's how he starts out. How long will you torment my soul and break me in pieces with words? A few verses later, know then that God has wronged me and has surrounded me with his net. Now, I'm not sure saying that God has wronged me is putting trust in him. He breaks me down on every side and I am gone. My hope he has uprooted like a tree. He has also kindled his wrath against me. And he goes on. And then what happens, and this is what's interesting, and this is the kind of thing when we wrap up Job I'm going to talk about. It's very similar to how you had this narrative, almost like a story in the first two chapters of Satan and the sons of God and Job and God and things taken away. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, that ends. And now it's this conversation. And then the same kind of thing happens in this chapter. Like, we want it to be about trusting God and repenting. And all he's talking about is he has kindled his wrath against me and he counts me as one of his enemies. And then in verse 20, it says, my bone clings to my skin and to my flesh, and I have escaped by the skin of my teeth. And then, boom, there's a change. Sudden change of tone. Have pity on me. Have pity on me, O you my friends, for the hand of God has struck me. Why do you persecute me as God does, and are not satisfied with my flesh? Oh, that my words were written. Oh, that they were inscribed in a book, that they were engraved on a rock with an iron pen and led forever. For I know that my Redeemer lives. I know that my Redeemer lives. After he's just basically said, God's cursed me. My friends have cursed me. Have pity on me. And after my skin is destroyed, this I know, that in my flesh I shall see God, whom I shall see for myself, and my eyes shall behold and not another. How my heart yearns within me. If you should say, how shall we persecute him, since the root of the matter is found in me? Be afraid of the sword for yourselves, for wrath brings the punishment of the sword, that you may know there is a judgment. So it basically ends there at the end of chapter 19. I'm not really sure why. Maybe we'll find out as we continue in part 4, which will be next. But in part 3, God is, where are you? Why are you doing this to me? My friends, why are you persecuting me? But then all of a sudden, he kind of cries out, I have not lost my faith. There must be a reason for this. This wrath must be here for a reason. At a minimum, to remind us God judges, not us. God gives life, God takes life, not us. Maybe all of this is just a reminder at the power of God and the powerlessness of a human being. Who knows? I'm not sure if that leads to hope or not. But join me, part 4, maybe we'll find out. And we'll dig a little bit deeper into wrestling with Job. I'm Silouan. Glad you could be with me, my friends. Peace.